And we're live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the sorry sand effect because I forgot to turn off the thing that says what episode number it is, so I don't have to play with that now. It's got nothing to do with the setup for the show, but it was something that was just kind of funny to me. Not haha funny, more like, are you okay? Are you going through, senility issue? Yeah, I might be, whatever. But at least part of the fun is trying to figure out if the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin. You can find me pretty much everywhere in senility centers. That's under SHUJIN. Hi. It's going to be one of those nights. So, as far as the crap crew is concerned tonight, I get to do this for a change. From the right-hand coast of what is otherwise Hurricane Alley, UnrenownedTech, sign in, please.
Hi.
Yeah, for the moment, it's just the two of us.
Yeah.
Brigid was not feeling.
The two of us.
Brigid was not feeling really good earlier, and kind of conked out. Which
it's not like we're working retail. Take care of your health and then do the show.
Yeah, which, let's face it, it is entirely possible that Brigid might suddenly wake up and go, "Oh shit, I got to be on the show," and still join us. It wouldn't be the first time.
No, it wouldn't.
And Joseph is well. He's invited.
He's invited.
He seems to be possibly awake. So I guess we'll see what happens. Reminding you, it's all dark stupid in the morning over there in Paris. So,
I do miss one of our Canadian buddies.
Yeah. And I did let him know. I did let him know that this was going to be a much more fluff piece. And he's... I left it open for him. So, he's got the invite. And I did speak with Joe just a little bit before showtime. He's busy at work and, he sends his regards. He's still alive. Which is, as far as I'm concerned, so long as I know that, that's good enough for me. Yeah. So, what have I got to drink tonight? Loganberry. Because,
oh, wow.
Because Loganberry.
Yeah, how do you like it?
Well, Loganberry juice is like the thing out here in the Buffalo market. Around the Great Lakes, Crystal...
Dude, from New York, remember?
Well, no, wait a minute. Crystal Beach, if I remember right, in Ohio, yes, is kind of where it took off. It's like the drink out over there at, I forget what the name of the amusement park is, which is really where it blew up from. So along the Great Lakes, down that way and over this way into Buffalo, Rochester, it's a big thing. Now, when I was growing up down the Big Apple way, never heard of it. But after I moved up here, the lady took me to Mighty Taco, which is
cool.
It was a lot better. It's not as good as it used to be, but you know what? Be that as it may. But Loganberry was like, one of the soft drinks on tap over there for you. And, I've never heard of it before. And she's just like, you gotta try some of this. Love it. I love this stuff.
So the only Loganberry I've had, I haven't had it as a beverage. I've actually had it as a syrup on pancakes. And it was delicious.
Yeah. You can get Loganberry syrup. It's not too difficult. But
yeah, and you don't have to worry about being over 21.
Yeah. And I'm going to get to that in a second, by the way. It's sold on the shelves out here as a bottle of syrup. So in my case, all I have to do is pour some into a glass. I think it's supposed to be a 5-to-1 ratio with water. 5 water to 1. And it's great stuff. Or you can just pour it straight on top of ice cream or on top of whatever, but it's good stuff. Now, the reason about that 21 thing, you remember we've talked about Guinness Zero
Yes.
I'll explain about that in just a second.
Introduce?
Yes, Joseph from Paris. You made it this morning. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
How,
How are you all?
doing okay. I was just talking about you a little bit ago. We were kind of wondering if you were going to be able to make it.
Yeah, sorry for last week.
No, no worries. Told you, man. It's not like you're getting paid for these appearances. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, well,
But anyway, the what I was just saying is that the Guinness Zero, I finally found a worthwhile use for the stuff. Believe it or not. You open the can, you pour it into a pan on your stovetop, and you boil it, and you put your hot dogs in it to boil.
Yeah,
Because
'cause you
that's about the
infuse.
only good use for that stuff.
Okay, so anybody who hasn't done this before, boiling hot dogs in beer, your favorite beer, one, it kills the alcohol. Two, it does infuse the flavor, just like cooking with any alcohol does.
Right.
So you can add a really nice, beautiful Guinness flavor with any kind of Guinness beer, regardless of whether it has alcohol in it or not, to your bratwurst, your favorite sausages, hot dogs, whatever, and it's very common. So, I mean, yeah, if it's cheaper than the regular beer, that'd be a good reason to get it. But
Possibly?
only, so yeah, if you like, I had neighbors when I lived in Virginia who made every time the summer started over a weekend they'd have all their friends over, all their family over, and they went through bratwurst and uh, uh, they made spare ribs and they made all sorts of stuff, right? But they went through tons of bratwurst, and he always cooked them in beer before putting them on the grill.
Okay.
So if you're doing something like that and that stuff that you know Guinness Zero happens to be on sale, we'll buy the good Guinness for the drinking, buy the Guinness Zero for doing the bratwurst or whatever, and dude, it's a win-win.
It's consideration.
And yeah, but I mean only in that scenario where it's on sale.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because as we
I would
found
rather
out,
make Speedies because I'm that guy.
yeah, Guinness Zero, yeah. Mm, no. Just,
No,
just
Salamita State Fair Speedy sauce. Nom, 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 nom.
no idea what that is, but you know what? That's okay.
That's in Salamita.
I kind of guessed that part.
Yeah, you know what Speedies are?
No, I don't.
Really?
Really.
They serve them in Buffalo for crying out loud.
If they do, I've never seen them.
Okay.
What are Speedies?
It's a marinated meat much similar to a shish kebab without the vegetables, using a very particular recipe. The traditional method of consuming them is that you have to get an Italian roll. You slice it open, butter it, put it on the grill to toast it real quick. Then you take a skewer of Speedies, pew, off you go.
That's a new one by me. I don't think that I've heard of that one. Huh. Learned something new today.
Um, now, depending on where you go, you might just get rough cut meat. But when I was getting it, okay, where I grew up in New York, they actually cut them into cubes.
Makes
Okay,
sense.
and the most common was pork and chicken. But you can make speedies out of pork, chicken, lamb, beef. I think recently somebody did variation of one of the speedy sauces to account for venison and lamb. But the problem with lamb is you can't marinate lamb very long, otherwise all you taste is a speedy sauce.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I mean it's one of those very strong, it's very potent marinades. 2 hours, you've marinated whatever the heck it is. You don't have to wait overnight, um, and they're amazingly good. I mean, it's just one of those things in New York that it people have tried to travel it to other places, and it just never really takes off because people are like, what's a speedy, and they get weirded out that there's a cube of meat in front of them.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to argue with that.
Yeah, but I mean, when you have, ideally, you shouldn't be going into a restaurant for this. You should be going to like an outdoor grill to get these things.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah. I used to make them every summer, and then for a little while there, you couldn't get the sauce, the marinade, because the State's Fair, that was the most popular one. People would make their own, but the Salamita State Fair Speedy sauce was the best. And they start selling it online again by the gallon. Oh,
Perfect. All right. So let me get things rolling over here because how long we're going to go tonight is really going to depend as to where we end up. I was joking with Tech earlier that we could end up early. Yeah, we almost never seem to, but we'll see how it is. And of course, if you do decide to join us while we're recording over on YouTube, you could be over in the live chat, kind of like me, because I'm the only one in the live chat right now. And I'm pretty sure Tech's about to pop up on there too, because I hear the tappity tappity.
oh, sorry. I was just putting somebody actually did a Wikipedia entry on Speedies. This is great. I love it.
You go ahead and mute yourself. Have fun reading.
I was just doing a Google search to see if I could find a link to the marinade because I was like, I need to order some of it, and it was like, there is a Wikipedia entry. This is so cool.
You go ahead and read up. Meanwhile, let me get things rolling over here. So, with 5 minutes on the clock, your 5-minute freestyle starts right now. It is the 17th of July. It is my anniversary. Yeah, I know. Once you're a widower, it's kind of hard to admit that you still pay attention to those anniversaries. This should have been our 29th year together. And, every once in a while I think back on some of the stuff that I've done, some of the stuff that we did together. And of course, ultimately there will be those things about what we didn't get to do. And the stuff that we didn't get to do, in some respects, I don't think that anybody really needs to know about them. I'm very certain that there are certain people who really, really shouldn't know about them for various reasons. Not legal reasons, just social reasons. But there are a couple of things that I remember that are very, very important to me. And there's nothing wrong with my telling you about these, because the first one was a really fun thing. I left the house I grew up in on Long Island 12 hours behind schedule because the U-Haul place that was going to put a trailer hitch on my car at the time had the wrong trailer hitch sent over to them, and the guy blew a gasket at the shipping guys and told them to get it over there now. Fortunately, I still got the thing. I got everything hooked up. I put everything that I owned into a little Honda Civic hatchback, 89. So those the ones that look like the Honda Fit now. And a small U-Haul. 12 hours behind schedule. I drove overnight to go from Long Island to Buffalo. It was a long drive. And I arrived at the apartment just as my then girlfriend, soon to be wife, was just coming out because she had to go off to work. And she told me, look, just park it right here. And when I come back, we'll unload everything. Don't worry about it. By the time she came back from work, I had already unloaded everything. I had unloaded everything. Now, granted, there wasn't a hell of a lot of anything. It was like really, really, really heavy. So, it wasn't that big a deal. I remember that because it was very, very much of the, after, after an 8-hour drive, I finally arrived just as she's ready to leave. It was perfect. But the other thing that I remembered was when we got to go to Japan and Australia. And I was thinking about it. And I went looking up to try to find out, does the company that made the duster jacket that I brought back from Sydney, are they still in business? God damn it, yeah, they are. So, after looking over the stuff that they have currently for sale, I sent him an email. I sent him an email with a couple of pictures to let them know that I'm very gratified to see that they're still in business. I got a picture of me still at the time wearing that duster jacket in Niagara Falls, and a couple of pictures of us when we were there in Sydney, in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And I can't tell you how much I adored what we were able to do together. We understood each other. We, as the old expression used to be, we were simpatico, man. We could look at each other and just know. She convinced me to take ballroom dancing lessons. And after hemming and hawing, we finally went together. And we learned a deeper communication and understanding between us. And it was one of the most amazing things to me. To all of you that get to celebrate one more time around with each other, you might think that I'm bitter. You might think that I'm cynical after all this time. But for all of you that can still enjoy being together, I wish you a happy anniversary. Even if I can't share mine the same way. Episode 413 on the docket, Your Honor. We're living in the future. There's stuff that was going on in the world of science because, the news has got enough bullshit to have to deal with. The idea of having, cool news for a change, believe me, I'm very happy that we've got, some cool news for a change. And I'm very happy to have it. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to have a little bit of fun talking about the 21st century that we find ourselves in. And, we'll kind of work a little bit differently and see where it takes us. We do, however, have the horrible scopes to deal with. So let's do that first, get it out of the way, and then we'll see where it takes us.
Joe, are you, Joseph, you logged into Horrible Scopes?
I'm doing that right now.
There you go. So, for those of you that know what your astrological signs are, cool. Those that don't, it doesn't matter. And last week, we did have some strange and unusual names instead. But since nobody got in touch with me and said that they want to have anything new this week, we're back to the old ones. So, for those of you... Yeah.
Next week I won't be here, but you should do all computer parts, obscure computer parts.
I will see what I can come up with.
That'll be a fun one to listen to.
No guarantees.
Mm-hmm.
But those of you that remember what your astrological sign is, when you hear your sign, just raise your hand so we know who to throw the eraser at. We don't do that anymore, do we? They don't use blackboards anymore, do they? It's all dry eraser. It's over.
Many schools actually still use.
Well, where I work, they just installed a whole slew of tactile big screens.
Nifty.
Yeah. Kind of cool. You can draw in any color on anything. Wipe it off. And even save everything you've drawn. All your formula.
But then you got no you got no erasers to throw at students when their heads go down.
Ooh, speedy flavored potato chips.
Stop. Let me get it rolling. Aries. There is a secret ingredient in Italian tomato sauce that you're about to learn, and it'll turn everything you've ever thought about it upside down. Sugar. Yeah, it's cheating since you really should be using slow roasted garlic, but sprinkling in sugar with your dry spices will help the taste. And it needs to be actual sugar. Don't use sweet and low. Don't use stevia, and not honey. And remember, you don't deep fry tortellini for family. If you're having a get together for like a football game or something, that fine. I mean, go for it. They're great. But for family,
Yeah, no, not for a sit down dinner.
no.
I'm going to read Taurus because this is
Right up
pet
your
peeve.
alley.
What?
Oh yeah.
Wait, are you afraid that I don't know how to pronounce Tyrolean? Is that it? You think
no,
I'm a
it's,
dumb American? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Go ahead, take it. I'm just teasing you, man.
So Taurus, a trilby is not a fedora, but do you know where it comes from? The name comes from a stage adaptation of George de Maulier's 1894 novel Trilby. The hat worn in the first London production of the play promptly came to be called a Trilby hat, resembling the Bavarian Tyrolean hat. As far as most famous people wearing it, you have a Frank Sinatra, Peter Sellers as Inspector Clouseau, and cartoon character Inspector Gadget. That does not mean it looks good on you. Get the grizzly oilskin hat and matching duster jacket from Outback Trading if you want to look cool.
That is a great look, by the way. That's how I used to look.
Or just buy a fedora, damn it.
You could.
Okay, Gemini. Generally speaking, movies are supposed to be a form of mindless escapism. Tearing apart scientific inaccuracies isn't usually appreciated by the people around you. It's best left to the professionals, like Joel, Mike, Crow, and Tom. Because, they're actually good at it. This week, find something you're actually good at. And for those who know, by the way, for those of you who know who those four people are, you need to keep your eyeballs on Kickstarter and Indiegogo from time to time, because every once in a while, they pop up little things here and there that you can jump in on and reap the benefits and rewards from.
Yeah, that one was actually written at myself because I got to see Jurassic Park for the first time, and I was very much of the, well, why would they do this? This is stupid. Why they do? And I finally realized, oh shit, I'm being that
Must
guy.
go faster, must go faster, must go faster, must go faster.
Faster would be better.
Yeah, I watched a blacksmith tear apart blacksmith scenes in different movies, and I'm going, I've been watching Forged in Fire for years now, and this guy is not wrong.
No.
And now, if I watch a movie and they have a forging scene in it, I realize I'm doing the same damn shit.
Cancer Mode Child. With video card prices dropping quickly, you better be careful upgrading your current computer. Never mind if you're buying a second-hand crypto mining card, but your poor power supply might melt down trying to supply enough power to it. Check all your stats before you plug it in, and keep someone near the circuit breaker panel just in case.
And here's a weird one for people. I know this is going to sound a little weird, but if you're buying a second-hand video card that was, one of the models that the crypto miners loved, which is basically anything that was made in like the last 4 years, that's a high-powered card. If you're buying it second-hand and you get it, smell it. If it smells like it's been in the same spot as something else that may have caught fire, send it back, get your money back, buy from somewhere else.
Yep.
So, you play air bass like a fiend. Your friends play air drums, air guitar, and air keyboards. They each know people that play air sax, air trumpet, air trombone, and air cello. At the next Battle of the Air Bands, go to the Naperville Travel Agency performing 25 or 64, and you'll win hands down. Yes, air band competitions are still a thing, and if you don't believe us, start one yourself this week.
Yeah, because you can't call yourself the Chicago Transit Authority. Naperville Travel Agency, because...
I'm not Googling that. I don't want to see that airbands are still a thing.
They are.
No, I'm not Googling it. You can't make me. Virgo. In 1973, the Carpenters had a song called Top of the World, and the lyrics are just weird. Listen to this part. Something in the wind has learned my name, and it's telling me that things are not the same. The singer is describing voices in their head, talking to them, making them think things aren't quite right. Yeah, there were a lot of drugs in the 70s, but when you start hearing voices, it's time to stop. This week, play Phasmophobia. The DJ is a dick.
Yes, he is. Hey, Libra, remember when Disney used to produce live action movies in the 60s? I bet you don't. Because in between 101 Dalmatians, The Sword and the Stone, Mary Poppins, I know that one's kind of iffy, and The Jungle Book, they produced 49 live action films, almost 5 a year. Classics like Swiss Family Robinson, Son of Flubber, That Darned Cat,
I like that one.
Blackbeard's Ghost, and the recently cited The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes. This week, see if you can creatively acquire any of those movies for yourself.
We'll just go to Blockbuster.
You could try that, sure.
I get that reference.
You could try that.
Oh, the Computer Wore Tennis Shoes. Oh, holy crap, I remember that.
Welcome to the show.
I just pulled up images of it, and it just jogged my memory that I have actually seen that. Big fan
Okay.
of Joe Flynn.
Scorpio. Annoying rattle and humming sounds from your car can be solved by turning up the volume on your radio while driving. In your case, this won't work. The spaces between talking points on NPR shows lets you still hear the noises. This week, bring it into the shop to be checked out, but remember to turn down the radio. You want to take the NPR shows into the garage to eliminate
Sure.
the spaces?
Why not?
Okay.
Sagittarius. All your friends are talking behind your back. No, sorry. I love you, Weird Al. You know that one album you got? The one where people look at it and ask, what were you drinking the night you got it? Yeah. The one where track 10 is called Dickweed? It's time to just throw it away. Not donate it. Not give it away to anyone. Hell, don't even offer it to a library. Just pop it in your microwave oven for 1 solid minute, then through a shredding machine. You'll be able to sleep better this week.
Yeah, that one's on me, in particular. Because the album in question is Super Sadomasochistic Expialidocious. And I swear to you, that is a real album.
By who?
Don't make Elvis Hitler.
Yeah. By the way, the DJ on this next one is still a dick. And I didn't forget to take my multivitamins, darn you.
Mm-hmm.
Bad monkey.
Capricorn. If the expressions beer good, interweb bad, Napster bad, and fire bad means something to you, then you need to take your Silver Year once a day multivitamins because you forgot again.
Arius. You want to move that practical effects. Excuse me. You want to prove the practical effects are better than CGI, but having a hard time convincing that one movie snob? Suggest that you both watch the musical number Can You Picture That from 1979's The Muppet Movie. After you've just watched it, ask how that scene could possibly be improved with computers. The most technologically advanced part of that scene were the TV screens the Muppeteers used to see what they were doing on camera. Sometimes felt in imagination beats a Cray supercomputer.
That is a classic musical set.
Felt in imagination. Felt?
Felt. Yeah, the material that they made a lot of the Muppets out of.
Right. Okay.
Pisces. Music performers study a long time, learning all the tried and accepted techniques of how to play an instrument. And then they go out in the world and jazz it all up by breaking the rules. For example, normally the song Dueling Banjos is performed by two people with a backing band to fill out the sound. But if you ignore the whole traditional guitar and banjo playing techniques, it can be played by one guy on a double neck guitar. You may not like country music, but this time you're gonna love it. And as a side note, I actually got there was a recording where somebody did dueling tubas. And it was so hilarious that the guys who were doing it, they themselves ended up cracking up and they couldn't finish it because it was freaking hilarious.
The weirdest one I've seen so far is a guy with a guitar, I think is what it was, and the other guy on stage with him with a whole bunch of little bicycle horns all over an overall set or a work slicker kind of thing, and he would
onesie,
yeah, and they did a good job. I will give him that, but I don't ever need to hear that one again. But yeah, the one guy that I saw on YouTube who did dueling banjos on a double necked guitar, and he played both necks with both hands. Yeah, that was just it was just great.
Yeah, when I see people who are able to do something like that having that ambidextrousness and applying it to an art form, especially a musical form, it's really a beautiful thing.
Oh, yes, it is.
It really is.
So those are your horrible scopes for this week. And remember, if you like what you got, happenstance, man. Correlation is not causation. Nobody paid me this time. So if you want something nicer or nastier, you need to be in touch with me. And I'll have these posted online, at the end of the week when I work on the next ones, Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, all that happy horseshit. Because that's what I do. Because I'm weird that way.
Happy horseshit, not to be confused with happy holistic hippie horseshit. Or happy hippie holistic horseshit.
You tried so hard to get that one out.
I'm out of practice, and dude, you're having Loganberry juice or wine or whatever the hell it is. You know what I'm having? I have the Maxwell House. They bought out the International Delight stuff. I made the mistake of filling up my cold brew, and then to flavor it, instead of it just being plain black coffee, I put in one of the packets of the International Delights mocha latte stuff, and you're supposed to just mix it with milk. So I'm having about it actually what I didn't realize is it actually contains caffeine. It contains real coffee. It wasn't just flavoring. So I'm on a double caffeine binge right now because I finished the cup, and my cup holds 20 some odd ounces.
That's a lot.
Yeah, if you hear a weird vibration coming from my microphone, it's just me bouncing in my chair.
So you're going to vibrate straight through the floor. Got it.
Yeah, might come through the internet protocol.
It might. Probably not.
It might. You know what? That's a good transition. Speaking of wavelengths.
Yeah, so
that's what bouncing is.
So, item number one, and just to get the piece out of the way, we do know and understand that the naming of the James Webb Space Telescope is problematic. We know. We are, however, laying that aside for the time being because that's a discussion for another day. So the JWST, which is, I know it's a little bit of a mouthful to let that spill out of your face, but still, the first photos have come out. And these are not even like it's ramped up. This is kind of like the equivalent of the s- the guy in the sound booth just tapping on the mic, testing, testing, 1 2 test test, and oh my god, I got no problem with saying that. If I remember correctly, the area of space that they took one of those pictures from was about the equivalent of holding a grain of rice in your fingers at arm's length and holding that against the night sky. And they have hundreds, and I mean hundreds, of galaxies in that shot. And there are plenty of them that you can easily make out what type they are, what style they are, what look, spiral, barred, globular, whatever. And you can easily tell that there are a number of them that have that. I forget exactly what it's called. I think it's the Einstein gravitational lensing effect, where the look of these galaxies are just smeared in such a large area. And it's just amazing to see how this thing is operating. And it's not even fully clocking in yet. So let's start off with this. Gentlemen, Tech and I were talking just a little bit before the show, but Joseph, you are someone who appreciates photography. Did you get to see any of those pictures yet?
Oh yeah. Well, they were. How could you avoid them?
It
I mean, I check up. I look at Facebook every morning
It's
to check up on my family, and just like I think, it was last Thursday when it came out. I forget, but anyways, like practically every post in Facebook was that image.
it was amazing. It's
Yeah. Well, this is only the start. I
yeah.
mean, like they said on the uh, the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe. I'm always plugging them. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
But yeah, this photo is the version all on automatic settings. So once they start to fine tune that shit, I think we're gonna get some pretty amazing stuff.
I think it's pretty damned accurate. Tech, what kind of stuff did you want to say about it?
I thought it was freaking hilarious when I believe it was NBC News, an NBC News agent. Not sure which news agency it was, but the the TV guy was asking Neil deGrasse Tyson whether we were just seeing images in false color and that they were made up, or is this what we're actually, are we seeing what the images of what the telescope actually took a picture of? And he's like, "Oh, you want to go there? Sure, let's go there." And you can immediately see the news anchor going, "What did I just do?" Which made me, and this is consequently, this is what Shujin and I were talking about before the show. And what I loved is that the first thing that Neil did was explained very shortly, very briefly, how the human eye works, what it can see, right? And that it can essentially see red, green, blue. Hence why all our LEDs and stuff for television are in that colors, or are using those colors to make up what we see on TV. And that the telescope sees in the deep infrared, which the human eye can't see. But you can segment the variations in that infrared area and translate them to red, green, blue. And that what we see at that point is what we would be able to see if we could see into the infrared. And that's not what was really cool about the whole thing. What was really cool was watching the news anchor's mind. You could see the expression on his face get blown away by that concept. And that tells me that we need more scientifically literate people on the bloody television. Blowing people's mind with such a simple concept should not be this easy. We need a more scientifically literate society around the world as a whole. Now, anybody who watched that isn't scientifically literate, I really hope it blew their minds just as much and in such a positive way, because Neil deGrasse Tyson has this amazing ability to deliver information in such a positive and educational manner that it really does, he really does do a great job of positively influencing people around him. Something that I definitely don't have the ability to do. I'm good at complaining.
Yeah.
I'm not a very good teacher.
Every scientific establishment should have at least one Neil deGrasse Tyson working for them.
We should
More
be
importantly,
so lucky.
more importantly, every news station should have one like.
Oh God, yeah, science communicator.
Yeah, there should be somebody on the news who, when a news anchor comes out and makes some kind of stupid statement or whatever, you got the science person in the background going, "Well, Bob, that's not entirely true. What's really happening in this scenario is this," and can explain it in a way that the rest of the people out there can understand. Because sometimes you need a news anchor who can make the same fallacies as everybody else, and then have somebody who can politely, educationally, and without intimidating somebody, correct the news anchor, so somebody else can go, "Well, I was thinking the same thing as news anchor, but I'm wrong, but now I know better." And they weren't the ones getting corrected. It was the news anchor who got corrected. Yeah. I saw a teacher do that with a teacher's aide when I was in college, and I thought it was an amazing trick to get the students to feel more comfortable asking questions when they were ignorant on something and they needed to, or they had a misconception about something. And I'd love to see that kind of handled on television.
Yeah, I hear you. The two things. The first one was one of the things that I got Tech laughing about earlier was that I was comparing it to if you took one of the Alvin the Chipmunks records on a record player. Okay, it's a device for playing back audio that's recorded onto a platter of kids. Ask your parents, don't worry about it. If you set it at 45 RPMs, because that's normally what a single would be, but if you turn the spin down to, okay, some of you are going to understand this, 33, okay, but if you turn it down to 16, I know there's some of you right now that are going, what? Trust me, it's a real thing.
This is the speed at which it spins the disc.
Yeah, don't explain any further than that. You guys can look it up for yourselves. You take it from 45 and you play it back at 16. That's effectively what you're doing with the stuff that's coming back from JWST, because it's infrared. Well, actually, you know what? I've got it wrong. It's actually the opposite. I just pulled up the information on wavelengths of light, and you know what? I had it backwards. It would be actually speeding up the frequency. Looking at the listing, visible light spectrum. Don't worry, there will not be a test on this later. Just trust me for a second. The visible light spectrum is measured in terahertz. Yes, terahertz. As opposed to, gigahertz. Terahertz. And the color red, or various colors of red, will typically be in the 400 to 480 terahertz range. Under that, meaning slower than 400 terahertz, is where you start to get into the infrared range. So, 390, 380, 370, So what they're effectively doing is they're capturing the light in those frequency bands, and they are speeding up the. I'm going to approximate the word color because it's not quite the same way that we think of color. It is color in that it is a frequency of vibration of photons, which is what differentiates between, the colors that we would normally see. But it's starting from a point that we can't see. And then they just bump it up. And it just works out greatly that way. They just have to find out what's the middle color that they're going to work with and then go from there. Which is very different from what Hubble has done. Because as I recall, Hubble is using specifically visible wavelengths, which has got its own, problems to deal with because dust and dirt and stuff kind of gets in the way. There are certain frequency bands that are better than others. For instance, those of you that might remember AM radio, you go under a highway overpass, well, AM radio cuts out for a little bit. That's not because of anything other than that's the way that the frequencies work. It's the wavelengths. But if you're listening on FM, it's a shorter wavelength. It actually gets in there easier. It reflects off of stuff a little bit better. So, pick it up. So all this infrared stuff, this latent heat that is picking up from, not only is it picking up stuff with far more clarity than Hubble ever did or could, it's picking up details that we otherwise wouldn't have been able to even dream we could ascertain. As in, like, being able to pick out the spectra for water in the absorption lines in some areas. And there are some scientists who have been looking at the technical data coming out, the stuff besides just the pictures that we're getting, like the actual spectra, and they're looking at this stuff and they are just blown out of their minds with just, I can't believe we can read this. And I, for one, welcome our 13 billion light year away neighbors whenever they get here.
By the way, I do want to touch on something with regards to Hubble, because I have seen online some hate for Hubble,
Oh, God.
which to me is an atrocity.
Yeah.
It is a horrendous thing to do. Here's the thing to remember about the James Webb Space Telescope.
JWST.
It was designed primarily. That means its main mission is to conduct astronomy using the infrared bandwidth. Okay? Infrared. The idea being that you can see the stuff that's further out because it's old distance and so on. So it's basically seeing further than Hubble could. But the Hubble wasn't designed for just infrared. It was actually designed for near infrared, not far out infrared. It was designed for visible. It was designed for ultraviolet, which the James Webb Space Telescope can't do, as well as electromagnetic the spectrum. I can't say the other word. Which, again, the James Webb can't do. In fact, the lifespan of the Hubble is still estimated to go on to at least last until either 2030 to 2040, depending on how well it stays maintained. And Hubble, I don't know about the James Webb Telescope in this respect, but I know with regards to all the other telescopes, that was the only one that was actually designed to be hand maintained by actual astronauts. Whereas the other stuff was fired out into space and then left to do its own thing.
Yeah.
And it's been giving us service that has, I mean, when it was first launched, it had an aberration in the mirror. They corrected it. And ever since they corrected it, the few repairs, upgrades, and stuff that they've had to do to it has only improved its abilities and the results that we get and they have been amazing, the things that we have gotten from Hubble.
Oh yeah.
And if it wasn't for all these things, we probably wouldn't have this beauty of a James Webb Space Telescope. So please, to those people out there who may be seeing this, who are actively doing this right now, please stop hating on the Hubble. It's still useful. It's still going to do things that the James Webb can't do. And it's still got plenty of life left in it.
Yeah. And as we know full well, and we've said it on many an occasion, when NASA does it right, they outlast so much stuff it's not even funny. Hubble has its problems. There are some problems in it currently that could, and I say that very, very, very guardedly, could be maintained out, could be fixed, could be repaired, but there are no craft that could go up there to actually do what needs to be done. That's what the space shuttles were best able to do. But we don't have those dump trucks anymore. But what they've been able to do with Hubble has been amazing. One of the things that absolutely blows my mind is that they ran into a problem with one of the gyroscopes not working to keep the attitude correctly.
Yeah,
And
I remember that.
they were trying to figure out, well, how many can we lose before we really have to start worrying about this? And how do we compensate for this so that we can extend as best we can? And some of these really super smart people over at NASA basically said, well, wait a minute. We basically get a free push from the photons coming off of the sun. How about we just help use that as part of our stabilization curves? And the people were just like, wait a minute, what? Yeah, sure, you go ahead and try to figure out you figured out how to do that. So they're literally using the sunlight that's coming off the sun as part of their equations for how do we stabilize the Hubble Space Telescope.
More interesting, when it first started having gyroscopic failure, they figured out that one of the temporary workarounds that they could do to, help extend out how long they had until they had to go up there and essentially kick the tires was they actually did a software update.
Yeah.
To change the gyroscopic modes and to compensate for inoperability. Do you know what kind of brains it takes to do that stuff?
Brains that work at NASA.
Yeah, it really does. So, every time I hear somebody like badmouth NASA or something, it's like, you people don't have any idea just how amazing NASA is. Considering that they're, constantly getting budget cuts, that sometimes they have to outsource something and then they have to make it work. I mean, they do. You want to talk about miracle workers? Those people are miracle workers.
Yeah. And
I'm not talking about miracles in like surgery. I'm talking about miracles in technology.
Yeah. By the way, I totally forgot because we were in the middle of the scopes at the time. Stephanie, good morning. Hi. Steph was asking, how do you hate a piece of equipment? Sorry, it's early and I have problems processing this concept. I totally understand that.
You've never driven a Yugo.
Okay. Leaving that aside for a second. It's not so much that they're hating on the equipment. The problems that we've been hearing from people, the complaints I should say, are it cost how much money and what could we have done with that money otherwise? As if you can't spend money on more than one thing. And don't understand, this is a long-term investment. And here in the United States, NASA gets, if I remember correctly, traditionally gets 1/2 of 1 cent of every dollar in taxes. It's pittance. It's really just pittance for what they do.
Yeah.
It's absolutely just, and the what gets back, technologically speaking, far outstrips the amount of money that's put out into it. I mean, shit. We've got Voyagers out there still clocking away, still checking back in every once in a while. We've got New Horizons rocketed, no pun intended, past Pluto, and oh, look at that! It's still sending back data, even at this
Yeah.
point.
Mhm.
I just these people just don't
They have
recognize.
literally written standards on like soldering wires.
Yeah.
For stability, durability, the whole nine yards. Why? Because when you do something like that, it has to last. It has to work. It has to be the best that it can be. So when we, launch something the size of, a car to another planet so that it can investigate, well, you can't just go out there and go, oh, the battery fell out. Well, let's just go pick it up and put it back in. Really? Okay, well, you'll be the first human to get to Mars to do it.
Yep, and I was trying to remember what the expression was. Written on the plaque in memory of the crew of Apollo 1. And for those of you that don't recall Apollo 1, it's kind of important. Ad astra per aspera. A rough road leads to the stars.
Well, yeah, um, that can be translated many ways.
Certainly. But that's the way that it's
But
written
it's
on
normally literally translated. It means through the thorns to the stars.
Yeah, there are a couple of different ways it could be translated according to what I've got over here. But like I said, from the plaque for Apollo 1, they have it as a rough road leads to the stars. So, it's basically it comes down to a very simple. There are hardships that we will go through before we learn something.
Got to work to make progress.
Yeah. Yeah. And unfortunately, in the line of Apollo 1, which was not originally a an Apollo mission officially until after, sometimes these costs to the stars are great and grave, but forward on we go. Anyway. Oh God, I really shouldn't be. There's things, there's reasons. This is always one of those times of the year where I get a little, I get a little extra emotional, not just because it's anniversary time, but also it's moon landing season. A couple of days from now it'll be the 53rd. God.
You have another one planned?
It'll be the 53rd anniversary of the moon landing.
Isn't China, they have something in the works to go back next year, no? Or something like that.
I don't know, but in this particular case, I don't know if that would be robotic or human. In this case, the human landing is the one that, of course, sticks in everybody's mind.
Well, yeah.
Of course, I would really like it if Apollo 17 wasn't the last one, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, my only regret that first moon landing was the absence in that famous phrase that was said the absence of an ah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's questions as far as to, was it a transmission error? Was it a, as far as I'm concerned, you're the first person to land on a new celestial body. You missed one phoneme. You know what? I'm not going to hold that against
Yeah. And what's most amazing is that probably every announcer since, or whatever, whoever presents it, won't acknowledge the error. One small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind.
Yeah. And it's in and of itself, it's an amazing concept. It's an amazing statement of solidarity for exactly the premise of, move forward. Come on
Yeah.
out.
Well, it's kind of like the feeling generated by the web images. It's something of the same trend, and of course you have the people in the Facebook posts I saw about it. You've got people whining about, oh well, let's this is all very nice, but why don't we start dealing with why don't we be more concerned about real things like climate change and shit like that. But as far as I'm concerned, like images like this, the web images, that inspires me to get involved, become aware of the universe around us, the world around us.
Yeah, it does.
And be a little more receptive to our environment.
You ask anybody who's gone up in a shuttle, anybody who's gone up and seen the Earth from a distance. It's they end up having an epiphany, and they end up becoming enlightened about just how petty some of this shit that goes down on this planet really is. Just how insignificant so much of it is. It doesn't feel like it to us, when you're in the moment down here on planet Earth. You're in the moment, that, oh gosh, somebody just clipped my car and now my headlight's out and I got to replace it. It's the end of the damn world,
And I don't know how to do that myself.
Right. First off, first world problem.
Yeah.
But it's not a good thing right now with inflation and greed going on, affecting everyday regular people. It feels like, it just can't get worse. Oh my God, it's horrible, all that stuff. But when you're looking down and you're looking at the pale blue dot, as it were, the beautiful blue marble, you realize there's much more to life than just a headlight. We get so bound up in these little things, we forget everything else. And you can argue for whatever you want, that it's planned, it's made that way by other humans, whatever. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it happens and we need to stop it. And one of the beautiful ways to remind yourself that, hey, there are more important things going on right now than just a broken headlight in our lives, is to take a step back and look at something that is bigger than you are. And of course, some people make the case for, oh, well, that's what you do if you pray to God. And it's like, show me a picture of God, would you please? Like, I can see the cradle of life in outer space. Show me this beautiful being of yours that supposedly made the damn thing.
Yeah,
Oh, you
did
can't?
everything.
Okay, let me focus back on these beautiful images coming down from the James Webb Telescope and the Hubble and everything else then. Because that's real. I can see that. We can maybe at some point in the future of humankind, if we don't destroy ourselves first, maybe we can even go there.
Yeah. I would otherwise love to read the entirety of the excerpt of Pale Blue Dot from Carl Sagan.
It's a gorgeous thing.
But
it is a beautiful thing.
I want to read just the last the last paragraph from it. Reminding you, this is 1994 that it was published. The last paragraph says this. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is, perhaps, no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known. It's true. You look out onto the palette that is the roiling, boiling universe that we can see, and holy smoke, the idea that there are, like I said, JWST, the image that came back, a grain of rice held at arm's length at the night sky, and there are hundreds of galaxies in that one picture alone so far, and it's not even souped up yet. How amazing and humbling it has to be to look out onto that vast sea and think, yeah, I'm the only one. It is literally impossible for me to think that we are the only intelligent species in the universe. It's simply untenable to me, even if I can't prove it. And by the way, Cato, by the way, hi. There you go.
That also brings up onto what Tech was saying earlier, our high opinions of ourselves, because, we always, not only are we probably not the only quote unquote intelligent species out in the world, out in the universe. I've always asked myself the question about time travel, and well, if it's ever going to happen, maybe it hasn't happened yet, because some people use that as an evidence that time travel will never exist because nobody's come to our point in time. Well, there's no evidence of any such thing anyways. But it could be just simply the fact that our point in time in humanity is just not interesting enough for those from the future to visit.
Or not sophisticated enough to be able to detect it.
Yeah, because we're just at a starting point in our journey. Because I think from our childhood, the advances we've made in technology. When I was born in the 1970s, well, we still had the rotary dial telephone and all that. But one thing we have to change is, I had a black one on the wall. Super long cord. So I could actually talk from all the way across the room.
And of course, as we know full well, there is something that is missed in these older technologies being replaced. Because with current technology, you can't do this. Goodbye. You don't get that sound.
Oh, the satisfying clunk hanging up on something.
Exactly. I mean, you tell me how you can do that with one of these. I'll be impressed. Without breaking it. Without breaking it.
No, had to add that in there.
Yeah.
Somebody should make an application for that.
That would be really, really nice. It would be. But in any case, oh, great. Now Stephanie is, don't get me started. I was born in 52. You know what? I'm 52. Well, I'm 53. Okay, you know what? Shh, whatever.
I'm 51.
I don't care.
But shh.
I don't care. Anyhow, but there is actually kind of important stuff about all this. I wish that screensaver would just go away. There we go. Anyway, current modes of technology for telecommunications. These mini supercomputers that we keep along with us, which that's what they are. They're not telephones anymore. They're not direct two-way radios. They're mini computers. And they're absolutely they're amazing. Once upon a time ago, you might remember that there used to be the little two-way wrist radios that Dick Tracy had. That video, that two-way video chat that he had, and that was
And the
just,
antenna used to run up his coat.
Yeah.
To his collar of his trench coat.
Yeah, and
that's how he caught one of the kids trying to steal his watch.
Yep. And Cato's saying 39. 39's a good age. Remember, that is one Jack Benny old, so you keep that in mind. So yeah, you had the two-way wrist radio once upon a time ago. You had the bat phone in the Batmobile, that red thing, because I mean, somebody had to do it.
I still love the fact that somebody took the goofy Batman fight scenes and superimposed them over onto current Batman movies.
That's fine.
That was freaking hilarious. It was great. It was highly entertaining.
And remember, at about that same time frame, you also had one of these. Because...
Didn't hear any sound effect, though. Nope.
Okay, you might not have heard it, but it came through.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, because I got the good one. Because it... There it goes. But these, once upon a time ago, Tech can't tell the difference, but that's okay. They used to be toys. They still are toys. This one is. This is just a... Doesn't matter. It's just a... I can do this all day, and I don't care, because this is a toy. This is for kids. When I was a kid, these were shaped a lot bigger, and they operated on CB channel 17 or something, and because two-way walkie-talkies, that was the thing. But now come the 21st century, and because of the nostalgia factor for these things, they've now souped these suckers up with Bluetooth technology to be able to talk to whatever. Could be your phone, could be your computer, whatever. And when I go to the Renaissance Festival at the end of the month, oh, you bet your ass I'm taking this with me. Oh, yeah. I was actually giving serious consideration to wearing my my maroon Starfleet jacket. I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't think I should really do that. But
I mean, we're definitely living in the future. I mean, case in point, in my pocket is a knife that's steel, but it also has a composition comprising carbon, chrome, molybdenum, tungsten, vanadium, manganese, and silicon. It's M390 steel. It's one of the super steel, so to speak.
Wow.
It's an extreme alloy. It has a very high durability and resistance in every quality that you measure in a steel. And it's in my pocket. I have a super steel in my pocket as a pocket knife. A pocket knife. This thing was designed for injection molding to get like 10,000 plus uses out of it without it degrading at that point. And I have it as a pocket knife. Okay? We have cell phones that are not true phones. They're pocket computers.
Yep.
And we've said this before. They're more powerful than anything that we've sent up into space for the very beginning part of all the space programs.
No, most of the space program up to this point.
Yeah. In fact, for a long time, some of the cell phones and laptops were more powerful than the computers they used at airports.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, think about that one. You were on a plane, and the computer at the airport, at the air tower, was less powerful than a laptop.
God, it's amazing to think to me that Voyager is effectively a Palm Pilot out there somewhere. It's not really, but be that as it may. And by the way, Roxy, thank you joining, had said, as for other life out there, what's to say that we're not the first ones? I've wondered that. I have actually, honest and truly pondered that idea. That, we've got all these science fiction stories about how Earth is one of the ones it's the kid brother that's finally coming up through the ranks, and finally, oh well, we finally discovered Earth is out there, and Earth is actually kind of special, so let's go ahead and do stuff with you guys, and you're the ones that are going to save us. But the idea that maybe, just maybe, we are the first, that's really something special. That's a really, really sobering idea. I don't know that it's real likely, but at the same time, considering from what we've understood so far to date, how quickly biological life has evolved on this planet from the time that, it was, the conditions were appropriate for the chemistry to have happened, how quickly it happened after that. Yeah, I don't know that we're going to be the first, but, the idea that there is nobody else out there? No, I can't. I can't agree to that anymore.
What I suspect, and this is because of our current understanding of physics and quantum physics and everything else, may be flawed, may be skewed. It tends to correct itself when it finds problems. But I suspect that if there is no way to get around the physical limits of the universe, that what we won't see is a way for two civilizations to accidentally bump into each other. It would have to be, in my opinion, most likely one of two events. Either A, a planned event where both civilizations are making an effort to reach each other, or B, one of those kinds of things where it's not so much that they just bumped into us, it's we happen to be in a path of whatever it is that their goals are, and most likely not, like if we want to get out past, outside our solar system and travel, some people think colony ships. I'm thinking instead virtual environments where the human brain has been able to be copied into a computer system, and we come up with computonium, or I think that's one of the science fiction authors call it. It's essentially, think of a 1-inch cube of material that is both a computer and computer substrate, processing power, storage, the whole 9 yards. But now you can build things out of it, and it can rearrange itself, all while storing data and processing power and the whole 9 yards. It can literally, it's one of those Deus Ex Machina kind of things in a story. But the concept is not flawed. The concept's a real thing. It was just, we will have to get really technologically and scientifically advanced to get to that stuff.
Yeah, the singularity, I think, is one of the things they refer to it as.
The singularity has to do with AI more than not, if I remember correctly.
Or am I thinking of transhumanism?
Transhumanism is where we accelerate ourselves via technology. And I think it will be transhumanism that will, what we will need to actually explore the known universe.
Oh,
to get ourselves into synthetic bodies or to synthetic environments where, time. Oh, we got all the time in the world. We got all the time in the universe till the universe expires, until the heat death of the universe at that point, or until the medium breaks down and it has to be replaced and we don't have replacement material. That kind of thing is what it'll take, in my opinion. And granted, I'm not the smartest man on the planet.
agreed.
Uh, and you did not hesitate.
Well,
But I think that's what we're going to see if we do encounter another species, is something similar to that, where it's artificial bodies, it's synthetic creations. Original minds, organic minds, but put into inorganic systems so that they can withstand the test of time that we would have to travel.
becomes really interesting because there's so many other pieces along with that. Not the least of which is how much mind is there, and how insane will that mind become after millennia of coasting through uninhabited space. You know?
That's why I like science fiction stories. Is they come up with these concepts that address just the thing that you're talking about. Well, what happens if somebody goes crazy in a virtual environment? How do you help them? How do you do these things? And they talk about the concepts of what it is to be a human being, what the human brain needs in terms of perceptions and patterns to actually process. On Audible, there's something called the Bobiverse, which is a great listen. It's freaking hilarious. But it talks about creating inside the virtual environment that these brain scans are part of, actual couches and chairs and a beer, food, television, entertainment like volleyball and all that other stuff, all while they're controlling machines that are exploring the galaxy. And so that they can maintain a modicum of themselves, of who they were, without going crazy.
Yeah. But it's also, a lot of science fiction it's more self-examination than anything, because it's basically projecting the human existence into situations it's never experienced, and almost experimenting with the outcome.
Yeah. And if you look at science fiction in the past and some of the stuff that we've made in terms of technological breakthroughs, some of that wasn't too far off.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was almost a thought experiment.
Yeah. Roxanne.
But it still doesn't. Oh, sorry.
Go on.
Yeah, I'm thinking it still doesn't address certain questions, like, for example, okay, going insane in space, but why the insanity?
The way I was thinking of it was, depending as to how much mind there is in whatever AI system it is, depending as to, is it complete AI, is it transcoded memory engrams from a brain being put into a digital computerized system, how much mind is there, and after however long of just not doing anything, so to speak, at what point does that mind start to get really wonky? Like, if you don't have anybody to be societal with, at what point does somebody just start to break down?
Because we are a social species.
Yeah. Yeah, I find that very interesting. And as an aside, what I was going to say was, Roxanne had pointed out the Borg are transhumans. You're right, and that is a freaky, scary transhuman.
Well, one of the interesting things about the Borg is that they have a goal of just bettering themselves through technological absorption, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I'm talking about making the technology and such so that we can go exploring.
Oh yeah.
That's a different mission statement right there than the Borg.
Oh yeah.
But there's something interesting that it comes to mind in one of the episodes of Next Generation where they had the Borg, where there was a segment of Borg that had broken off, and they broke off because essentially what they were doing while they were in their recharge states, they had a virtual environment where they had their original human bodies with no Borg parts on it. They had a frame of reference, a landscape, and so on. And that is something that a lot of scientific authors I've seen of their works that I've read um, in the past several decades have actually hit upon, is that one of the potential ways that the human brain could be maintained, the human psyche could be maintained, is by ensuring that if we're going to put a human brain inside of a computer, we have to give that brain, that digital creation, access to a digital environment to recreate body to go with the mind. It's a virtual body, but when you're feeding virtual data to a virtual brain, even if the person in there is self-aware that, hey, this is not my real body, when they lift that virtual arm and they touch their fingertips together, they're still getting the feedback they would have gotten had they had a real body. And then they can change that virtual environment to be a house. You know, maybe they have a sit-down computer and a bed and everything else. And when they're resting between long travel missions, they're in their house. Maybe they're playing pool, whatever. You know, maybe they have other brains working other aspects of the ship, or that they're working in tandem for analyzing data, and they need downtime. So now they're getting around and they're playing around a volleyball. You know, they're doing a fake grill out, and they're not using anything but some small amount of computer resources to generate that environment for their own sanity.
Now comes the fun question. If
Go
you
ahead.
are able to decide whatever that environment is, A, you now run into the actual brain in a vat thought experiment, and B, at what point does that still become too boring when you are the god of your own environment and can do literally anything?
Interesting that you asked that stuff. In the Bobaverse, they actually had the ability to spin up and slow down time in their environment
Oh.
by spinning up and slowing down their own perception of the outside universe. And their limitations were literally the technology that they existed within. So, in doing so, when you think about it, computers operate at incredible speeds.
Oh, hell yeah.
Right. So, you could hypothetically live a year inside of a second inside of a computer. But if you slow down your perception, the day inside of a computer and the day outside of the world could coexist.
Or shift back and forth in ratio as needed.
Yep. You could possibly make it even slower so that 100 years passes outside and only a day passes inside the computer. However, you know, maybe you have a segment where the input over those 100 years is going through an automated system, and you get a shift, a temporary shift back to real time or faster time when you have to analyze a piece of data that requires a human brain to analyze. So, see, scientific authors have been thinking about this kind of stuff. And what's the beautiful thing about science fiction is that we have ways of making the stuff come real, and some of it's based on reality, some of it's based on not reality, hence the science fiction part. And some of the authors actually have backgrounds that are beyond just writing a science fiction book. You know, some of these people are mathematicians, some of these people have science degrees, some of these people actually studied human psychology. So we're in the future now already, and we still have plenty of future to go. How we get there, we kind of have to focus on it. And when we're too busy down here fighting each other over something stupid, and I don't mean that the topic itself is stupid. Body autonomy is not stupid. But fighting over whether somebody should have body autonomy is stupid. Yes, everybody should have body autonomy. Next question, move on. And the problem is we have the people that drag us back so that we can't move on because they can't see beyond their own nose. They can't see the pale blue dot. When they look at the pictures from outer space, they go, "Oh, that's pretty. Next thing. What's making me money today, or what's the next thing I can do to piss off constituents, or what's the next thing I can do to hurt somebody else?" These are the people that I have truck with.
Yeah, and there is absolutely something to be said for that, because there is definitely a correlation between the mentality, I'm not going to say the people's, but the mentality of dismissal of the scientific endeavor and I'm trying to figure what the right way of describing it is. Civics. I don't know that I'm using the right terminology for it, but there is absolutely correlation between people that are just dismissive of the scientific endeavor and people who just don't give a shit about anything except their own petty squabblings, and that hurts. And because I don't want to I don't want to lose out on the pieces that I talked about in the show's notes. Let's not forget that we've also got things like the Very Large Array, which is a multi-continent spanning radio antenna. Let's not forget that there is the LIGO system that measures gravitational waves in space-time itself, the fabric of reality. And
as we know it to be.
Yeah, as we know it to be. And they have detected multiple black hole mergers. And they've been able to confirm this shit. And I think that the greatest part about LIGO when it came out and they were just like, yeah, we confirmed it. This is what the sound sounds like. And they played it back and it's just like, what? And I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell is that? And they're like, no, that's what it sounds like. If you sped it up a lot, because, the sound of a black hole vibrating is B flat, 52 octaves below middle C. If you're wondering how low that is, don't even bother. Just don't even bother.
Yeah, and I mean, if you want to get close to home, the Large Hadron Collider.
Oh my God!
Observed, this month, just this month.
They turned it back on again recently.
Yeah, they turned it back on recently.
No, wait a minute. Wait. It was off for maintenance and retooling for 18 months, if I remember right, give or take.
Give or take.
And because they started off as basically, I think it was like 3 years, give or take, of like preliminary testing on it, where they're just like, okay, you know what, we got all these great scientific things, good, we're going to take it offline for a year and a half so we can retool it and actually bring it up to what it's supposed to do.
Well, anyway,
I'm sorry.
They turned it back on, the collaboration. Okay, they discovered 3 new particles.
Particle combination.
Yes. Combination.
So there's a pentaquark, a new kind of pentaquark, the first ever pair of tetraquarks, and that includes a new type of tetraquark as well.
But of course, these things are so unstable they blink out of existence almost as soon as they're created.
But the thing is that we're seeing new stuff, and when we take this new information and we add it to what we know, okay, it doesn't happen right away. Sometimes it happens right away, but for the most part, we start making new discoveries like this. It starts teaching us new things about ourselves, about our planet, and about the universe around us. So when people say, "Oh, it's a waste of money," it's like, no, Do you enjoy using a cell phone? Do you enjoy Facebook and Twitter and all these wonderful technological advances? Do you love having video communications at fingertip control? Not having to go to a video station and make a video call, but literally just pull it out of your pocket for a couple bucks a day and be able to, well, depending on your plan anyway, data plan, but be able to see anybody virtually anywhere in the world. You have the vast sum of human knowledge indexed and searchable in the pocket and in the palm of your hand. It's called the internet. We live in the future right now, and we can make it whatever we want. And for those of us who want to move forward, we're being dragged back down by regressives who are going, no, you can't do that. We're too busy discussing who's got the better God. Why don't you guys go sit in a corner, continue eating lead paint chips and some glue over there, while the rest of us, come over here and make better scientific discoveries and improve the human condition, make the world a better place. And you guys, slap each other in the face a few times until you start both crying and wetting yourselves. And seriously. But the problem is it seems like the people in the corner eating glue are starting to really go up in numbers.
Well, they're getting noisier, that's for sure. It's hard to tell what's going on for certain because the noise machine from these people, the crazier they are, the noisier they are, and we're having our media filled with the latest Supreme Court quote unquote decisions. But at the same time, if you look at the statistics, the number of non-believers is going up too. So
yeah.
And I'm all
we're
for
at a crossroads.
The number of people who agree that every person should have their own body autonomy. Yeah, everybody else should have their own civil rights. Everybody should be able to do what they want as long as they're not hurting other people in the process. And that number is going up and up and up and up and up. You just have the other group happens to be louder and meaner and plays dirtier, and they happen to have a lot of power.
Yeah, because of their following. But it basically comes down to, like, for me, it's not even a question of, God anymore. It's a question of accountability. I mean, as soon as you shirk everything off to some guy daddy existence who's going to be taking care of everything for you, who's supposedly doing this, you're no longer making decisions about your own existence and what's good for yourself. And the people who are trying to grab power, well, these are people who just basically, they want to decide for us what's quote unquote best for us. But in reality, what they want is what's best for them, because they have a total control over people who do not take responsibility for their own decisions and their own existence.
Yeah, there is. I don't know who said it. There is another show that basically said, after seeing this image coming down from JWST, that
What is that?
the James Webb Space Telescope.
Oh, okay.
I've taken to calling it by its abbreviated name because
Sounds suspicious, like Jehovah's Witness.
yeah, but as I've come to understand, there are problematic issues with the person it was actually named after. So I've taken to specifically calling it by the initialization, for the time being at least. in any case, some somebody had said after seeing these pictures coming down from JWST that their God is too small to fit inside the universe that we are now understanding. And there's something to be said for that. And considering that there are so many people for whom the God concept is basically a Mary Sue for themselves, there are a lot of people that are starting to realize that, if they even realize it, that this world and its place in the universe is so incredibly, or should be so incredibly humbling, that there is nowhere good for their sky daddy to live that makes any sense. There's no reason for this planet, the couple hundred kilometers around where it all started, that makes any kind of sense. And these are
What's
the
the
same
god of the gaps?
Yeah.
And the gap is getting increasingly smaller.
Or wider, depending as to how you see it. In either case, it just doesn't fit. And considering that so many of these people, like I said, for whom their God creation is a Mary Sue for whatever it is that they think should be, because their God always agrees with them, suddenly, how does your God explain hundreds and hundreds of galaxies in that one photo, in that one speck in the sky? And if that's representative of the rest of everything around us, we're nothing. We're a nobody. It simply boggles my mind. You know?
Well, it's like what we were saying earlier, certain situations we can get ourselves into. Like I've been lucky enough to go to the top of the peak of the Swiss Alps, and I mean, it's just amazing up there. There's almost you're getting towards the middle top of the atmosphere, and the stars are so clear up there. And you can actually see, and under the right settings, you can actually see the top of the atmosphere bleeding off into space, and it's so thin.
Yeah.
It's like basically our atmosphere is like compared to the size of the world, it's like an eggshell.
Yeah.
And how fragile! Just imagine all that just being blown away.
I still love seeing the pictures of places where there is virtually no light pollution, and people have set up cameras with long-term exposures so that they can get an image of the night sky and the view of the galaxy itself in the sky.
Yeah, go on Reddit and look at the various photo forums that they have. The stuff that the amateur community does with amateur telescopes rivals things that we tried to get with professional systems just a couple decades ago.
Yeah. And even me, where I live, even though the photo that I took was quite a while ago, and I took it with my digital SLR at the time, I took not exactly a wide angle shot, but I took a fairly good size swath of the area at night in the snow, because doing astrophotography in the winter is the best way to do it. There are reasons for that. Don't ask me about it now. I took a picture that included the side of my house, or I should say the front of my house, pointed up to the south for Orion. And the photo even though I have streetlights, a couple of streetlights, not very close at all, but because it was such a long exposure, comparatively speaking, my house looks like it's all lit up on the day. But the sky, the photos that I was able to get from just having just a couple of photographs, like 3 seconds long, and then putting them into free software to stack them on top of each other and to pull out the the light sources from the deep darkness in the back. And we can do this on our own.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're lucky enough to have a pair of binoculars at night in an area where there isn't that much light pollution, if you look to the north, there is a very good chance that you could see the Andromeda Galaxy. Fuck. And to me, it's like, how do we jibe that with people being so cynical about being able to do stuff like that, when a couple 100 years ago, being able to make out the moons of Jupiter was suddenly an amazing prospect that shattered everything that the heliocentrists, the geocentrists, there we go, wanted to say about the solar system that we live in. It just boggles my mind.
And if you want to get close to home, instead of going way out in outer space, in terms of technological achievements, last month in Australia, they created the first ever true quantum computer circuit. Not a transistor, not a pairing of entangled dots, but a full-blown, in every technological description of this of what it's supposed to be, a true computer circuit using quantum technology, quantum components. And so, for those of you who don't follow that stuff, just think of a computer circuit, but at a quantum scale. Very, very tiny. Okay? And what that means is we're talking about getting one more step closer to full-born 100% quantum computing technologies, getting closer to that science fictional computonium material, getting closer to actually having answers. I mean, right now, the fastest speed record for sequencing the human genome is just over 5 hours. A full-born quantum computer could do that in a split second. Possibly less. Probably less. So we're talking about something that is going to change human lives. How we use that is going to be up to us. And unfortunately, the us in the beginning will not be you and me. It will be major institutions and businesses that can afford them. Probably even Wall Street, which is going to make that even more of a mess than it already is. But if we end up surviving their messes, or we keep them on a short leash, hopefully, we'll eventually see that technology in our own homes, our own environment. You know, instead of it, like for example, the first plasma screen television that was sold to the general public, that Best Buy ever sold, was so expensive in terms of the technology that the singular display model that they put in stores had an alarm system that was almost as expensive as the television. You bump that TV, you set off the alarm. Now you go in there and they're dirt cheap in comparison.
Yeah.
And they're not even tied down. They're just bolted onto a shelf. You know, anybody could come in with a ratchet and whoop, walk off with it. No, you know, or just grab a box, you know, run out the door. I'm not saying you should do that. That's illegal. It's a bad thing. Don't do that. I'm just saying that the differences between when it first made its public appearance versus now. And that'll happen the same thing most likely with the quantum circuits and the quantum computers. Once it's a point where they can make it so that they can mass produce it, that drives the price down. And that makes it a reality to have in your home. Does that mean AI is coming? Who knows? You know, there's speculation that by making quantum computers, we open the door for AI. And then, of course, everybody has the scary movies and scary science fiction about how AI is bad because reasons. I, for one, welcome my robot overlords because, honestly, I think they can do a lot better. Assuming that they're programmed to actually give a damn. Who knows? I guess we'll see what we see.
And as far as to being worried about AI taking over, it could be actually rather benign. I mean, look at the pilot episode of Buck Rogers in the 25th Century. So,
honestly, I think one of the most interesting things, concepts that I saw in a science fiction short story that somebody had created was that the artificial intelligences, because there was like a whole society of them, didn't really give too much of a damn about people because people didn't seem to give too much of a damn about them. So a person worked with a artificial intelligence that was willing to work with them and created the human computer link so that the human could experience what the artificial intelligence experienced, and likewise the AI could experience the biological body, the thing that it couldn't understand. And so by creating a link that allowed them to be separate from each other but to have share experiences, basically a technological version of empathy. Okay? They created a new society, not a Borg, but a symbiosis between humans and AI. And honestly, if I think that might be something that might actually be needed because, you know, humans have a hard enough time just understanding each other.
fair enough. We got to see about wrapping things up a little bit because I'm starting to get a little bad right now. So, Joseph, like I said, I'm coming your way to see what you've got to close up with at this point.
Oh, well, nothing really. Another shoe repair weekend, so oh, I'm just putting on the trépoint. I don't know how to say that in English.
That's okay.
Yeah, you'll see something about that on Facebook later, no doubt.
Nothing wrong with that. They are.
Oh, what?
I was about to just say that they were quite lovely shoes to see, and I do not say that with any weirdness to them. They're great shoes looking at.
And to wear, actually. But
Right.
what's funny is what got me motivated to do this, to go through my existing shoe collection, well, of dead shoes. Stuff I've worn in the past is that, you know, it's c'est les soldes, it's sale season, where you get like 60% off. And you know, I went to the store and had a look at what they had to offer. And yeah, well, you're paying a lot for not much. Good luck finding anything with leather soles nowadays. They're all rubber. And they look like they're going to fall to pieces in a matter of months. So, yeah, well, what you saw, those shoes were Westons. That they're from the 1960s. And I bought those at a flea market for probably the equivalent of probably $120 or something. And they were brown before. And I'm also resuscitating a pair of Montana shoes that I had acquired in the 1990s. And this is, I don't know if you know who Claude Montana is.
Nope.
Well, yeah, he's still alive. Yeah, but he was quite the thing back in the 1990s. He did his own designs.
Very cool.
So yeah, and next weekend, I must warn you, I'm going to Castle Country.
Ah, yes, you were saying that you were seeing that coming up soon.
Yeah, so I'm leaving on Thursday, so I should be there for the weekend, and I'll be looking into temporarily enlarging my monthly plan on my phone. So I'll see if I can join you from there.
No worries. We'll see how it plays. Tech, what do you want to finish off with? Reminding
I
you
don't know.
that
I
we don't
think
have too much time left.
yeah, I kind of think that I've covered the things I wanted to say. Um, we've got so many amazing things going on. If we could just get the roadblocks out of the way, the people who want power for power's sake, the people who want to control everybody, get all that shit out of the way. Just stop being so goddamn petty about it, and allow humans to progress. Um, sure, there's something to be said about putting brakes on certain kinds of not brakes, but maybe like an engine retarder on certain kinds of technological advances. Just because we can doesn't mean we should, and so on. Always ask that question, um, and move forward, gracefully. But we need to stop tripping ourselves up with all this petty bullshit. And right now, the world is full of greed and petty bullshit. And the fact that we've been getting anything done just goes to show how amazing these smart people are, these persistent people, the ones who are trying to bring us further into the future. How amazing they are. We need to look out for these people. Sure, Neil deGrasse Tyson is a great television scientific celebrity, but there's a lot of people that are just as smart, or if not smarter than him, that are working behind the scenes as well. And all of them need our protection so that they can continue to do the things that they do. And just try to look out for them. If you know those kinds of people, keep an eye out for them. If they're having a bad day, let them know that you appreciate the work that they're doing. They may not have had a hand in making the latest, greatest coffee maker, but somewhere along the line, somebody did that works with them, or works or is related to somebody who worked with them, or so on. You get the idea.
Fair enough. There are two things.
Oh, and robot girls are totally metal.
Yeah,
I had to throw that in there.
That fine. There are two things I'm gonna close off with. One of which is more concept. Please remember, once upon a time ago, when electricity and magnetism were still considered two separate products, Michael Faraday, and as an aside, Michael Faraday is where is it over here? FRS, which stands for Fellowship of the Royal Society. I don't know if he is technically professor, sir, doctor. I don't care what it actually is. I went looking, I haven't been able to find it. So I'm just going to call him Professor. Professor Faraday. When he finally was showing off that there is a direct correlation between electricity and magnetism, which finally made us get to coin the term electromagnetism, he was asked, what is this going to do for us? What are the practical applications? What's special about all this? What could we do with it? And he answered, I don't know. That's not my job. I found the connection. I found this link. It's not up to me to figure out what to do with it. And all these years later, yet again, as was mentioned, we have these supercomputers in our pockets. Thanks to him. Or partly thanks to him. And the modern concept of professor did not exist at the time, Stephanie's telling me. You know what? Perfectly understandable. I don't know what what honorific to give him. So I was using that because, well, you know what? I don't think it really much matters. I don't think he's going to be bitching about it. So, you know what? We'll just leave that aside. But I'm going to leave you with this item. The universe is endless yet finite. And in all the roiling, boiling fabric of reality, mankind is arguably the most curious piece of it. A conglomeration of star stuff, a dozen billion years in the making, that's achieved self-awareness enough to question, who am I? And in this moment of its existence as a species, a new glimpse into the deepest recesses of that endless finality has captured the attention of those who do something remarkable. They dream of new horizons, of journeys problematic in scope, impossible to current understandings, but dream they do, of how to take the rules learned and twist them, mold them, beg them to allow for ideas that otherwise only imagination can fulfill. We now see further than ever before, farther than we could have hoped, with clarity that only a few short years ago we could not have expected. So now we, the citizens of this tiny planet, occupiers of a fraction of a fraction of a speck of dust in the cosmos, have to stop asking, are we alone, and begin asking, how will we greet our stellar neighbors one day? As far as to who coined that, who wrote that, guilty as charged. So with that, it's time for us to go ahead, call it a night, and bid you all adieu. Thank you for being with us tonight. We hope that you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives, and you got something to think about for the weeks ahead. Over the chat, thank you all for being over there. Stephanie, Cato, and Roxy. Thank you guys. You know, it's nice to have you all over there. Hope that you guys had yourselves a good time. And seriously, please be safe, be healthy. Do not go drinking and boating. I know I always say it this time of the season, but, you know, it's kind of a thing. Joseph, thank you. And yeah, if it turns out that you're not going to be able to join us, no worries. You have yourself a great time out there at the castle.
Yeah, well, a lot of digging. But, yeah. Well, I'll do my best to join up with y'all.
Fair enough, but good luck.
Yeah, thank you. You take care, sir.
I'm going to do my best. Tech, it wasn't just us alone. Yay!
Yeah, it wasn't just the two of us.
But you also take care of yourself. Tech and I have known each other long enough that I can go ahead and I can say, be safe. And he knows exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
But still, you have yourself a good week. You take good care of yourself, huh?
Absolutely, you too. I will be missing next week. Yeah.
Fair enough. We'll see what turns up.
Okay. In the meantime, hope you guys have fun. And great having all the comments over in the live chat.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. So, folks, thank you very much, as always, for being with us. If you'd like to be in touch with us, all of our contact information is over at holycrapthevlogcast.com. The phone number, if you'd like to leave a message, is 859-HCTV-554, 859-428-8554. And if you'd like to get the audio version of the podcast, the link is over there on the website over on the left-hand side. Thanks for being with us. We know for well that the news in general has been pretty much a shit show globally for the last couple of weeks. And I'm trying really hard to make sure that we don't end up going spiraling down that avenue. But, you know, maybe a little fluff piece for a change is not such a bad idea. So, until the next time we get together, everyone, as always, I wish you the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And my lady, 29 years later, thank you for making me proud to be loved. Matane Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we're together, everyone, as always, good night.